Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, I know, it's my fault, I apologise, but I'm back now. So I've been building a new PC, getting that to work nicely, then I got sick, then I got better, then I got sick, then I got better because turning 40 is awesome. And then all of my 4-5 years worth of Star Citizen footage I had backed up got corrupted, so I had to redo everything. So that was, kick a man when he's down. But I'm back and I've been recording like crazy, trying to play catch up, recording faster and more than a teenager with a smartphone for the first time who's just discovered Instagram. So that should tell you something. Today, we're going to take a look at the mighty Anvil Asgard, and mighty it is. It's very popular from what I can tell. A few members in my Discord have it, link in the description. We've been talking about this ship. There's a lot of keen interest with it. I think this ship sold very well for two reasons. Three. Let's go for three reasons. One, it still maintains that lovely Valkyrie look, which makes the Valkyrie popular in by itself, right? Two, the storage capacity and the vehicle capacity for this ship, I think, is the biggest selling point. People just love putting stuff in other stuff, okay? It's a thing. You can't argue with it because it's brilliant. Okay, so this ship will cram all manner of vehicles in the back of it for its size. It's very impressive. And thirdly, the pilot has access to obviously quite a ridiculous amount of firepower, which is extremely nice. However, I will say there are some things I would change just to make this 100% the best, probably the best daily driver. Because if I'm being honest, I think 99.9% of players that own this ship will be solo. Okay, so but we'll come on to that as we do the tour around the ship, and I'll point out some of my thoughts. Other than that, the fact that it keeps that Valkyrie look is amazing. I don't quite like the white. It doesn't quite suit it, in my opinion, for the default paint scheme, but obviously you could buy more from the store if you didn't like the look of the white. I'm not too keen on it, but aesthetically that Valkyrie vibe definitely helped it sell. It looks great. It really does look great. It does look like a sci-fi dropship, and I think it's certainly going to have its uses as a cargo runner, 180 SCU, or a vehicle drop off into hot zones. I mean, the idea of taking a Nova tank in the back of this thing, rolling out and clearing bunkers and contested zones and all of those sort of dangerous areas, for me, huge selling point. Probably more than the weapon systems itself. I think, like I said, people just love putting stuff in stuff. Alright, let's take a look inside the ship. Okay. Here we are in the rear of the ship with this glorious 180 SCU cargo grid, and my oh my is it spacious. Yes it is, and it has to be to fit the various tanks that we have in game. Plenty of room in here. 180 SCU is fairly respectable for a ship of this size. Door guns, doors that open on the side that you can grab a gun and mow down some peeps if the situation requires it, which is always nice. But ample room in here, nicely lit, very ambient, very sci-fi, very dropship, and I think that's the subtle tones of the olive sort of camo, can we call it that? Olive drab sort of trimmings around the ship that enforce that military flavour. So yeah, ample room in the back for you to get cargo and vehicles in at the same time, or just dropping off vehicles. You could take 4 tumbrils, as we've seen, Nova, the assault tank fits in here, all manner of things. I haven't seen a ballista in here, and I'm pretty sure that would fit too. It would be kind of nice to start ripping out the ballistas and the Spartans and things of that nature. I think they're really cool and not really used enough in game. Moving on from that area then, we have where the drop seats would be on the Valkyrie. We do have 2 seats here, but bearing in mind this is a 2-man crew ship, so I'm assuming you might have, if you're in a small org and deploying and actually using this ship as intended as a vehicle dropship, then you'd probably have a load master. I would have thought a few seats, maybe a spare seat for a squad lead or something like that, and everyone else is just sat in the vehicle ready to punch out and wreck fools. That's my sort of analysis of why that is the way it is. You'll also find the components and stuff in here as well. So, yeah, plenty of room for more people. Whether or not you use it for that, we'll have to see until ground play comes into full swing. Moving further on then, that brings us to the turret location. The turret is located directly beneath the pilot, with some size 4s on there. So I think the idea of this is just to come in low and absolutely eradicate everything and everyone on the ground, right? It's pretty impressive, the firepower this ship has. On the top deck then, as we go up the ladder, we have 2 separate rooms. We have our toilet and bedroom bunks located either side of the ladder. Then we have some weapon racks and stuff that lead towards the cockpit. As you can see, it is a ladder entry point, and you can't jump off the sides, or at least I couldn't, which is annoying to get down. So getting up and down the ladder, although it is a small complaint, and it is a small niggly complaint, I hate it. Truth be told, it's really annoying. I just want to get up there without having to go up the ladder. It's tedious, but that's just me trying to poke holes in the ship because, I'm trying to critique it. We have to find faults. So the bathroom, shower room, toilet area. The toilet, very basic, very military, no comfort, no toilet roll, bring your own, you're going to need it. They keep building toilet mechanics, and yet we still haven't heard anything whatsoever, at least to my knowledge, about the hygiene mechanic that's supposed to come to the game. The bunks are awesome, and they're awesome because we finally have a display with something interesting to show on it. So you can see it's flickering between all the Anvil ships, which I thought was brilliant. On the neck of the ship then we have the kitchenette, very basic, hot food, hot drinks, microwave for days, that unhealthy, not poodles. Student food, whatever keeps you going in the heat of battle is better than nothing. We have our weapon rack and some suit lockers, I think. I'm not entirely sure what they are. But yeah, well positioned, easy to get to. No real complaints from me regarding what can be found between the neck and the cockpit of the Asgard. Then that brings us up and into the cockpit. Now, I am so glad CIG have fixed the radars for most of the ships. Obviously, I haven't been in all of them. That's why I say most. And they are so much better. But what makes the Asgard even more awesomer, because that's a word now, I love the wraparound MFDs on any ship that does it. And the Asgard is no exception. The radar is crisp and clear. The MFDs are bright and clear. They wrap around the pilot. They're easy to get to. They're easy to read. The UI in general is getting there. It still needs tidying up in my opinion, but for a pilot in this ship, the Asgard has an excellent cockpit in my opinion. The view is very good. By your feet you can see how far away you are from the ground. It's perfect. Okay, the struts aren't too impeding. It's all looking good. Right, let's take a look at weapons and components. Okay, here we are on our trusty DPS calculator, and as you can see, the weapons. We have quite a few, 6 pilot controlled plus missiles, and they are all Panthers at a size of size 3. So quite a formidable forward-facing loadout here. Anything that's stupid enough to, sit in front of you long enough is going to get absolutely shredded. Okay, you could swap these out, sure. I don't think you would need to, unless a Gatling loadout could be pretty interesting, or mix and match probably is the way to go. I'd have a few Gatlings in there, a few ballistic guns just to help penetrate and go through shields, and then a few repeaters to help bring down the shields. You have options. You certainly have a lot of options, but I think maybe a Tiger Strike loadout could be very interesting, or like I said, mix and match in the two. So, yeah. A butt ton of firepower. The turret is comprised of 2 rhinos. Again, formidable turret weaponry, which will easily dispose of most things on the ground. And then we have 16 missiles, which is also very, very strong. Let's be honest. You probably want to swap these out at some point to get the most bang for your buck, so to speak. And the Chaos 3s look pretty good, pretty tasty. Now, let's talk about the shield. So, it does have 4 size 2 shields. However, a few guys in my Discord have said that it's actually quite, like the Valkyrie, very susceptible to just exploding. You know, maybe, I think, just the Valkyrie and the Asgard still, as a dropship, should be pretty tanky to get in under fire. And I think that's why the Valkyrie still suffers. The shieldage, if you could use that term, which I'm going to, I just don't think it's applicable enough for a dropship. They should be quite tanky, in my opinion. You know, they're going in hard. They should expect to get shot at. We'll see how it plays out. We know that ship balancing is a constant evolving thing. The power plants are 2 maelstroms. Of course, you can switch those out, but you can't buy military components anymore, so salvage what you can or take them from another ship. 3 coolers, and it probably does need them because of the huge amount of pure firepower the ship uses, especially with the repeaters and the 2 size 4s in the turret. The Odyssey is the quantum drive. You can swap this out. There are plenty of good civilian and military QT drives around, but again, for the military, you will have to sort of salvage or take them from a ship you already owned, throw it in here to get the most from it. So yeah, not as many options as we used to get, but I kind of like it. It makes sense. So yeah, very impressive. Right, let's move on. Okay, so let's now focus in on some of the really cool stuff that can be found on the outside of the ship. Externally, the Asgard looks fantastic. Like I said, it's because it shares some of its very distinctive looks from the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is very popular in itself. The Valkyrie's just got some improvements internally, and I think that helps sell this ship. There are some features that are important for a dropship. 4 landing gear for stability, I would argue, pretty important. Then we have the engines themselves, which are VTOL capable, and they need to be for a dropship. And you could argue that the VTOL is probably very important for atmosphere. Depending on what planet moon you might end up on, they're going to have different gravitational pulls. So if you're carrying any tanks or vehicles in there, you're going to need the power to swiftly come in and land without plummeting into the planet and pancaking. So those are important aspects. It has plenty of engines. It looks great. I absolutely love the sort of wingtail at the back. They look super cool. Really nicely done. It does look like, though, in my opinion, that the engines are just like the thrusters themselves. Not necessarily the engines, but a little bit small. Like it would struggle to lift something like that. But it is what it is. My only real complaint, if you could even call it that, to be honest, with the ship, is I just don't know how I feel about those engines on the rear, sort of hanging off the wings. They look cool, but they also look kind of goofy. Do you know what I mean? They look out of place. It might just be me. It might just be me being a little bit critical here, but I do kind of feel like they don't quite work. As to why, I couldn't tell you. It just doesn't sit right with me for some other reason. Other than that, it looks fantastic, because as you can see, we've got the missile launcher directly in the middle where a turret would be for the Valkyrie. We've got 2 separate wings, and then we've got extra wings at the back of the ship, because essentially it's very hard to argue that that's in fact a tail. They're more like independent wings to me. Also, the default paint scheme, I think white doesn't suit it. Honestly, I think black would have been a little bit better, a bit more tactical. Some people might like it, and it does help highlight some of the detail. I will say that with it being white, it brings out those sort of panel lines and the edges around them, which is always a nice touch, but I'm just not keen on the colour. But overall, it's a fantastic looking ship, and like I said, my only real complaint is, do those engines belong on those wings? I don't know. What do you think? You should let me know, because I don't hate it. I just don't like it. It's just one of those things. Otherwise, it's fantastic. Like I said, the design of the ship has been Really well thought out, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about all the missiles in the world ever. So we have 16 here, all forward facing. That is quite a lot of significant firepower. I love the little optical display, as you can see there, for IR missiles. I'm guessing that's going to track heat sources. Really cool. And when these things launch, it is also pretty cool. 16 missiles. Now, it is useful to have missiles. They do pack a punch, but I still think to this day that the chaff and flare, the chaff and noise countermeasures are far too strong, and these missiles are easily fooled. I'd like to see that balanced out a lot more. Make missiles more expensive, but if you fire them, they should hit their target 80% of the time, or you just reduce the amount of countermeasures. I think that's how I would go about it. Maybe they'll get there. They're still tweaking a lot of stuff. They're making improvements. So underneath the chin of the ship then, we do have the turret with the 2 size 4s. Again, that's a lot of firepower, especially when you accompany it with the pilot's weapons just going ham. Basically, it is going to shred a lot of stuff, especially if there's just troops out in the open. They are going to get slapped, and especially if you have a turret gunner in with you as well. You just need one body and you're going to clear bunkers like nobody's business. If there's 3 of you and you've got a tank, then forget about it. Game over. And with the new mech coming, the combat mech, yeah. So you can see the potential here. There's a lot of firepower that this ship can bring to the table. It's very interesting to see how this is all going to pan out. I think it's quite exciting. Here you can see the right shoulder mounted weapons, nicely tucked away, and then we have the left shoulder mounted weapons. I kind of like the way that they're placed on board the ship. Not too discreet, but sort of well enveloped within the chassis of the ship. And then when you see all guns blazing, yeah, it's a pretty nice sight to behold. And then you've got missiles as well, so this thing can absolutely deliver some damage, let's put it that way. Moving on to the engines. Now, I always like to look at the engines because I think they're cool, right? These ones have the sort of gas burner look, which I really like. Drake sort of go for that yellowy, flamey look, which is also awesome. I would say, though, I just feel that these are too small to lift a ship of this weight. I can't remember what the actual weight is off the top of my head, but maybe they could have joined these two or made one massive thruster to go there. I don't know. I just think that maybe they could have been bigger. It's not a real complaint. The ship flies. It's not crashing everywhere. They just look a little bit disproportionate, I think. Maybe. Other than that, they look absolutely incredible, and this thing is, got plenty of acceleration, as it should do, because you want to land a dropship, you want to drop off whatever you're dropping off, and then GTFO, right? That's the whole point. So, yeah, it's just an aesthetic thing, really. Right, let's move on to the tour. Okay. So, it's tour time. So, we're on the ground. I think we're on Walla. I can't remember. Or Lyria. I think it's Walla. I like Walla. It's really a moody, atmospheric moon, with the fog and the floating debris. And it just, the Asgard looks like it's ready to go on this moon, built for it. So, we'll make our way around the ship, see if we can pick out anything interesting. Pay attention to some of the details that can be found on here. Like, for example, the panel lines are nice and crisp. There's even some weathering on the side, which I really appreciate, because recently I've got into Warhammer and building tanks because I'm old and sad and, I own it. Get over it. So those attention to details, I really appreciate it. And it's great to see that CIG as well are, pretty good with their external modelling. It has to be said. I think they're really starting to up their game. When we can start seeing nuts and bolts and things of that nature, things are going good. So we have a door here. Folds out, lovely animation, and a lovely little step. I can't express how nice it is to see that. So we can actually get in now. Underneath the belly, of course, there's nothing here. There would be a turret on the Valkyrie, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But we're going to check the landing gear well. See if there's anything missing. Nope, but they have incorporated, as you can see, weathering. So bits of paint being chipped off, lots of chipping going on here, which is good to see. So the ship is weathered. It's been about, you know, it's been in different atmospheres, different planets, different wind cycles, all kinds of grit and all that nasty chipping stuff. We have some landing lights, which is very nice. I'm not sure how effective they are though, because I have not flown this ship in the dark, so I couldn't speak to how good they are, but they are there. You'll notice some landing lights on the fin of the tail as well, which is a very nice touch. And they are important, and they are especially important if you're trying to drop troops off, unless you're going full tactical and want to turn them off. I hope we get the option to do that. As you can see, the engine, I just don't know. I kind of feel like it should be somewhere here as opposed to on the wing. You know, it's a little bit asymmetric. It doesn't quite work, in my opinion. It's not a big deal at all. It just doesn't sit right with me for whatever reason. I can't really put my finger on why. Look at that. Glorious. Glorious. What a lovely scenery we have today. As we make our way around the rear of the ship then, stop looking at the moon. We have our... I love the tail of this ship. It's so cool. We have our big old ramp. Yeah. And it's a fast moving ramp as well, which is extremely important. You know, you do not want a slow ramp. It's all about the fast ramp. So we'll make our way in, and immediately you're greeted. This ship is really nicely lit. Now, I've recorded the tack. I just need to edit it, and I can tell you that the tack, the lighting inside is absolutely horrific at the moment. I think it's a bug. I think it needs polishing or fixing. But the lighting in here is superior compared to the tack. The ramp is perfect. This is what you want. Go, 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 go. Everyone runs out. You see everyone getting mowed down, and then Loadmaster's like, right, bye boys, and the ramp's up. Good luck. Bye, have a beautiful day. Done. Perfect. Exactly what we want in a dropship. Now, in here, as you can see as we walk around, there is plenty of space here. We have a fuse box. We have some component bays. So, engineering's on the way. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. But I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it will be buggy on its first iteration. And yeah, we'll have to deal with that. With that, I have no doubt, but I cannot wait for it because I think it's a very important game loop. It's something we've all been waiting for a long time. So, here we have some shield access and radar and shields. And then we move on towards sort of midsection of the ship. We have our door that we opened previously. Again, fantastic that we have a step there. And we can hop on this. If I can get it. There we go. So we're going to test the firing arc of this. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think you could have quite a lot of fun with this, just like the Valkyrie. You know, the depression isn't too bad. You really have got quite a lot of firing angle here. The arc of this gun is very good. That's another thing with the tack that I've noticed. The door gun is abysmal compared to this one. Oh, a little bit glitchy. But as you can see here, we have an excellent firing arc on this thing. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, super cool. Really like that. That's awesome. So, right. Let's see what else we have here then. So, personal storage. Always appreciated, you know. Shove whatever you've looted in there from the various corpses strewn throughout the battlefield. We'll make our way to this right corner. We have another storage bin. This brings us into the engineering terminal side of things. Like I said, we have 2 seats in this region of the ship. Now, this does have emergency lighting, but as you can see, at the moment, it's not quite aligned correctly because it just keeps opening the door, which is very annoying. But we'll find more components in here, nicely tucked away, easy to get to. Engineering is going to be important, but I hope they don't overdo it with the beams all the time. I would like this game to start moving into a more simulated environment and not relying on arcade style beams for everything, because at that point it's just like, come on man, you spend so much time and effort making these ships really cool and you're going to let it down by just fixing everything with laser beams. Let's grow up a bit, please, game. Yeah, so easy access to all the components. Another seat here, like I said, maybe a loadmaster and your squad lead, I imagine, while everyone else is suited and booted and ready to be dropped off. But it's very simple, very easy to get in and out and swap things around, I imagine. There's plenty of space there. Now we have the turret for the chin. Let's talk about this. So, I like the turret. I think the ship needs it. However, I will say I think that this turret should be in the belly of the ship. Not under the chin, and I'll tell you why. I would have preferred just a little drop down seat like in some, like the Gladiator, for the pilot to get in and out of, rather than going through the back or the side doors up and down that pissing ladder. It's just a minor grievance. I think if you move this turret to the belly of the ship, it doesn't lose any of its ground stomping ability, and clearly it fits, right? Just even when it's landed, I think I would have preferred this turret to be midsection on the belly and had a small pilot entry point for the cockpit. That's my only gripe. That's the only thing I would change. Other than that, I guess that's the trade-off, right? Getting in and out is a little bit annoying. Kind of like the Star Runner, although not as annoying as the Star Runner, because the Star Runner, you get in through the back, go up a lift, and then make your way through the servers, and then a neck, and then you're in the cockpit. This one isn't as bad because it's just up and down a ladder. But I see no reason why this couldn't have been moved midsection. You're still going to slap everything on the ground, but it would have just made that a little bit more convenient for the pilot to get in and out. So that's just food for thought. I don't know if you guys agree. Let me know. It might just be me being a little bit pedantic, but I kind of feel like going up and down that ladder is going to drive me crazy to fly the ship. So behind the turret we have more components, gravity generator, and over here we have some more components. So let's see if I can get the lights to work here. No. It's annoying because I actually really like the flashing red lights. It's very atmospheric and moody and gets you in the mood to drop off troops to go murder people, you know? Yeah, that's not working. That's so annoying. Look, I'm clearly clicking on it, man. No. Anyway, let's make our way back through. And we have a ramp panel here, which is very good. Again, the Loadmaster can do this very safely so long as the door gunner or the door on the left is closed. Pretty useful. I can see that being used in drop zone situations. Right, we'll go up this ladder. Again, it's so annoying. It only takes like 3 seconds, but it irritates me. I don't know why. I'm sorry. On the left then, we have our toilet. There's a sink. Again, very basic, very cold. It's military. Don't expect any comfort. Not even any soap in here. Bring your own soap and toilet roll. You're going to need it. Because being dropped off in a combat situation is very frightening. Yeah, and a little sink there. So, not really too much to talk about in here. Just don't expect any comfort whatsoever, you know. But word on the hygiene mechanic, no idea. We haven't heard anything for years, but I hope they start, you know, letting us have a little bit of information regarding that, because nearly every ship has some sort of toilet combo, and, you know, it'd be nice to use them for what they're intended for. You know, maybe it's just for washing yourself if you go into a contaminated planet, something of that nature. Right, then we have the 2 bunks, which are, you know, awesome now. Unfortunately, I should be in a flight suit, to be honest, but I forgot. When you're laying down, you've got something cool to look at before you log out. Yeah? Massive improvement on all the other stuff that we've had on previous ships, I think. So they need to do more of that. Even if it's the loading screen, the latest information and news that we get in when we log in the game. That'd be cool. That brings us to the food access. You can see you can get an espresso. And we have our temperature controls here. Eco mode. Because reasons. You don't want to nuke your food, I guess. We have some more buttons and whatnot here. Weapon racks. And I can tell you that's probably a very good place to stow them if there's crew up here. Now, I'm assuming these are suit lockers or escape pods, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what those are. I'm not going to lie. They're escape pods, which would make sense because they're behind. I think they're probably escape pods, right? Not suit lockers. That would be my logical guess to that, I think. And then, of course, we go into the cockpit. We can close this door and lock it so no one can come in and distract the pilot. We have a button here, if we can open it, which we can't. So I'm assuming that will be for blades or things of that nature, I guess. And then finally, we hop into this glorious cockpit. It looks amazing, doesn't it? And we're starting to lose a little bit of daylight here, so it probably looks even better now because the atmospheric mooding is just right. But yeah, very, very cool. Not too imposing, not too impeding. You see the shoulder mounted weapons on the left. Yeah, it's a fantastic place to sit in the universe. Yeah, very, very, very cool. So we have our 4 MFDs, the radar's fixed, which is fantastic. Now, these lights that are found on the Terrapin, SIG, please stop adding these because they're just dazzling when it's dark like this. Look, it's just annoying. You don't need these in the pilot's face. This is a huge no-no. Stop adding them. Get rid of them. Everything else is lit up like a Christmas tree. We don't need those. As you can see, we have a HOTAS system as well. Very easy to use and understand how this all works. And the 2 rudder pedals, and then beneath the rudder pedals, we're able to see the ground, although we won't see it now because obviously it's dark. So there we go, guys. That was my video on the Asgard. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route to you soon. Take care. Cheers.